Hey there, welcome to this AFK journey video. So a few days back, I shared my best teams for Honey Alpha Bear, Lone Gaze as well as Yeti. So Yeti was yesterday. I skipped Necro Dracon as well as Skyclops and Koko because the team is pretty similar. But at the same time, I also realized that there's a lot of players with a lack of hero collection, right? Oh, Zeeeb, I don't have this, what do I do? Hey Zeeeb, I cannot survive, what do I do? Hey Zeeeb, this build doesn't work for me because I die, so what do I do? So in today's video, I'm gonna cover the best free-to-play guide with one of the best free-to-play account in the game, and it's none other than Zeebo. So I haven't been touching Zeebo for quite a bit. Rowan Son of Approval still there. Haven't been touching Zeebo for quite a bit because I was just way too busy with progressing on my other accounts. So Zeebo has been kind of neglected. At least I tried, right? I'm currently at seasonal AFK stage 131. I also did a few of my basically daily stuff, right? Arenas, Dream Realm on a daily basis. So I just cleared through it. I didn't really bother to min-max for this account, especially for the past few weeks because of the new content, as well as me just focusing my energy on my other accounts itself. So for today's video, I'm going to go back to this account and showcase how I use this account to deal with the boss itself, right? How do I do damage with this account? And now I'll talk about some solutions in case you guys don't have specific units built up, right? If you guys don't have a lot of units built up, what do you do? So let's start. This is my best team setup, obviously. Reiner, Koko, Smokey, Thoran, as well as Odie. I needs no introduction, right? I think there's nothing much to talk about them because they are basically the strongest unit in terms of early to mid game Lone Gaze or seasonal Dream Realm boss right now, because you need to survive the boss's attack while dealing damage at the same time. So Koko, Smokey, best support offensively. Okay, I don't think I need to say too much. Okay, so I'll showcase my damage on this account, and then I'm going to talk about what are the solutions for you if you don't have this unit, don't have that unit, or I cannot survive well enough. What do you do? Okay, so let's start the battle. I'll showcase the damage, the distribution, and then compare a little bit, and then I'll explain like what are some of the alternatives that you guys can adopt in case you don't have specific units, right? How can you build your team? How can you use a substitute to give you similar results, as well as achieve a result that's close to mine or maybe even better than mine, depending on who you have invested. Okay, so right here, my Reiner died in a very awkward position. Usually for Dream Realm, right, I'll just say fill your strongest units, like basically units of the highest tier, fill them, because the tiers of the unit gives the unit stats, right? So you kind of want to have your units at the highest tier possible so that they can survive for as long as possible, especially against Lone Gaze, because the moment Lone Gaze starts killing your team, right, you are not going to survive. Like this unit or this boss is just going to build up damage, going to build up haste, and then start doing more damage, and then your whole team is gonna die eventually, right? Let's face that. Okay, but if let's say, okay, I do have Koko, what do I do? Right, if I don't have Smokey, what do I do? I think I did a video for people who are Smokeyless. If you don't have Smokey, there's actually a few solutions you can do. So I'll talk about like the very common question that people always have. Hey Zeeeb, I don't have Reiner at Mythic Plus, what do I do? Actually, to be really honest, you don't really need Reiner at Mythic Plus to run this unit in Dream Realm, because yes, the EX weapon skill is really powerful. Yeah, it gives you more damage, and if you have EX10, it's really good to protect your carry. But even without the Mythic Plus, I'm still running Reiner, because Reiner's ability to just heal your team is really powerful, especially the carry, right? So if you send in the unit is basically getting healed by Reiner. Technically, it's a heal by Reiner because it's Reiner's skill. And on top of that, if you have Reiner at least at Legend Plus, where I am, right, number one, you get the seasonal skill, which is a shield for the frontmost ally. So it's a protective skill which keeps your unit alive. And if you have this unit at Legend Plus, the hero focus skill is also okay. It buffs your unit by a little bit. So you can definitely use Reiner even before M+. So if you're free to play, I don't think it's an excuse for you to say, oh, my Reiner's not M+, this build is not free to play friendly. I use Reiner even if Reiner's not Mythic Plus, as you guys can see here. So you use Reiner for the heal, right? You use Reiner for the buffs as well as the shield itself. Okay, so that's the role of Reiner. So what if, right, you decide to not invest in Reiner, right? What do you do if you don't invest in Reiner? I guess everybody probably has Aldea and Tendra over here, right? So Antandra is a unit which is very good defensively because this unit has taunt, and more importantly, this unit has the second ability, which is a shield. So this shield is based off the HP of the unit that she's trying to shield. So let's say, for example, the frontmost unit in this formation is obviously Smokey. So let's say if I want to protect Smokey, right, I put Entendra in the team, and then because I have Thoran can also take out the damage from whatever unit I want to protect. So I can obviously link Odie to Thoran, and then I'll use Entendra at the back line to protect Smokey with her shields. So that's one way you can do it. At the same time, you're not losing too much in terms of your factional bonuses. So let's say if you have like the 3 core Maulers, and then you don't have Reiner, or your Reiner just really weak, you can use this formation, right? So this is one way you can do it if you do have Reiner. If you don't have Smokey, you can obviously run the likes of our dear Rowan, right? So Rowan also has heal, and Rowan has another advantage over Smokey, and that is his regeneration ability, right? His energy regeneration is really powerful because it triggers multiple star shot spell for more damage as well. But let's say if you have a unit that is higher tier, for example, let's say if you have Smokey versus Rowan, use the one that is higher tier, right? So that is what I mean. Priority is if you have the unit at higher tier, use the unit at a higher tier, because unit at a higher tier are innately tankier themselves. They don't die that easily. But for Entendra's case, even if you don't have Entendra at a really high tier, I'll say she's still usable in a sense because she's a tank, she's innately tanky, so she doesn't die that easily. And her shield is based off the HP of the ally she's trying to protect. So usually, if let's say, for example, my Smokey is a mythic, right? The HP I'll say is quite a decent amount, not the highest, but it's a decent amount. So she gets her job done to protect the ally, to fill up the fractional bonus, and then do a little bit of damage. Obviously, you're not gonna get the buff and the debuff if let's say you have Reiner at Mythic Plus. But if you're free to play, this is probably one way you can do it. Okay. Now, if let's say you don't have Smokey or you don't have Koko, what do? If you probably have one of them, right? So you can use Rowan in their place, although you lose a little bit in terms of your fractional bonuses. Okay, but the thing is, it gets the job done. Okay, I will showcase the runs with Smokey as well as Entendra to let you guys see the difference in terms of the damage. Okay, let me shift the thing a bit. Okay, so for this round, you guys can see Entendra is going to shield Smokey all the way because Smokey is the frontmost unit. So the reason why I'm shielding Smokey is because Smokey is a very important point to keep my team healthy, as well as provide a buff in terms of the damage buff from the skill set itself, because there's a haste buff, there's an attack buff. So I want to keep Smokey alive for as long as possible. Combine that with the fact that I have Koko, which provide a ton of shield. Now my units are dying. Obviously, I think this damage will be a little bit lower compared to the one with Reiner, because I don't have the attack buff, neither do I have the additional 1% stat boost coming out from the Celestial / Hippogene fractional bonus. But like I mentioned, if you're free to play, you choose the next best option. Okay, if you look at this, it's still doing quite well because we're still surviving really well, because Entendra can keep Smokey alive, and as long as Smokey is alive, we are continuously healing, we are continuously doing damage. And I do have Thoran to protect Odie, so Odie doesn't die. And as you guys can see over here, I'm doing slightly better compared to the run just now because I'm able to survive the full duration. Okay, so this is if you don't have Reiner. If you do have Reiner at M+, most of the time you can definitely still run Reiner even if he's not at M+, but if let's say you have difficulty surviving, Entendra is one way you can do it. Okay, just remember, Entendra's skill only affects the frontmost ally, so this unit on this tile, this is the unit you want to protect with Entendra. Okay, so what do you do if you don't have Thoran? I don't know what you want to do if you don't have Thoran, because as a free-to-play player, you should have chose Thoran in your hero pool and at least have Thoran at, I'll say, somewhere between Mythic or maybe Legend Plus at a bare minimum, right? If you have been playing the game for quite a bit. But if you don't have Thoran, what do you do? So Thoran offers a lot of things for this team. Number one, offers himself as a debuffer, right? Thoran has a debuff, has a damage boost for the whole team, and Thoran has the ability to do more damage with the ultimate, and Thoran can protect one carry if you have him at Mythic Plus with the EX weapon to link to your carry, which you guys saw just now. I link it to Odie to protect Odie. So from this point of view, right, how do you how do you build your team without Thoran? Let's say if you don't have Thoran, what do? Obviously, if let's say you have like tanks, okay, let's say if you are not using Thoran as your main tank, you have another tank maybe like Lucius. Obviously, you can use Lucius because Lucius provides the shield, provides the heal, which is sort of another way to keep your units alive. Okay, for this case itself, right, my Lucius is really low rank, so he's not gonna survive that well. Like I mentioned earlier, the priority will always to go for the higher tier unit, because the higher tier unit themselves are tanky and then they can protect the team because they have more stats. Because Lucius shield also based off his own attack, so obviously if he has higher HP, if he has higher attack, his shield will be more effective. So that's one way you can do it. And on top of that, Lucius has another advantage, and that is you can obviously put Rowan together and still get a pretty decent fractional bonus. So fractional bonus is one way to keep your team tanky as well, because fractional bonus gives you more HP, more attack. More attack means that your heals, your skills, as well as your shields, they're more effective. So that's one way you can play as a free-to-play player. Okay, so now if you don't have Koko, what do you do? Okay, for Koko's case, right, Koko is really hard to replace, because Koko's ability is damage reduction, attack buff, as well as a shield. So you have to choose a direction where you want to fill up the gap if you don't have Koko. So let's say if now I have everyone else but I don't have Koko, or my Koko is just not at a Mythic Plus, what do I do? One way is to use Heal-In. So Heal-In's heal, right, is really good and it covers the whole map. But for you to use Heal-In, you will lose a lot of firepower because Heal-In is not very offensive by nature. Although recently Heal-In did receive a seasonal skill which is able to buff the attack and haste for the ally who deals the most damage. So I haven't really tried out the Heal-In in this one, but I'm kind of curious to see whether or not my Odie's damage output will increase. So let's just give this a try and then see the damage output. Before I start, right, let's just give a Heal-In the level. Okay, so for Heal-In's case, right, Heal-In's heal, if let's say for my case, my Heal-In is at Mythic Plus, at Supreme, sorry. So this Heal-In has EX Weapon 5, so her heal has damage reduction as well as this ability to not be interrupted. So the boss cannot stop her from healing, and with this Heal-In over here, I'm able to keep my whole team alive. But you guys can see my damage output, I'll say, drops quite a little bit. Although I did get a double buff for Odie, as you guys can see over here. So I think Heal-In's seasonal skill might actually be able to stack with Smokey's seasonal skill. So as you guys can see, whenever Heal-In's ultimate is active, I am not dying because I have the massive heals from her and I have the damage reduction for her. So this is if you don't have Koko. You can also use Heal-In if you don't have Smokey, right? But I think for Smokey's case, Smokey is just a lot better in terms of the support healing compartment because of his offensive buff potential. But then again, I think the damage is still okay, right? We get okay damage. It's not as good as just now because our units eventually died. But let's say if I'm not using Antandra, right, I'm using Reiner in that position, I have more stats, I have more attack, and maybe Heal-In's heal pass through and then I might have survived. So this is just one way you guys can build it. If you don't have Odie, honestly speaking, the only other unit you can replace Odie is Merrily. Don't ask me what unit can I use to replace Odie, because like there's only, I'll say, 2 or 3 carries on Odie's caliber in terms of Dream Realm. We have obviously Merrily, we have obviously Corin. I think as of the recent, Rise is also rising up, but Rise is not a very free-to-play friendly unit because it's not a unit which free-to-play players will focus on at the start. So if let's say you don't have Odie, then Merrily or Corin works as well. And Corin has the added benefit of being a shielder, so he can keep your team for alive for much longer. Okay, so for this boss, pretty much it. I think this is probably the most free-to-play guide you can ever get. I don't know what to expect. I don't know what people will want to expect if let's say this is not free-to-play enough. If let's say you don't have Thoran, you don't have Odie, you don't have Koko, you went a completely different build, what is another combi you can do? Okay, so let's say if you say that Zeeeb, I don't want to play my the Maulers, they are boring, right? They are stupid, I don't want to play Mauler. Okay, then what else can you be playing? What else will you be playing? probably like Barra, right? Because you still need some sort of dream round. So let's say you go this build, we go like this, okay? No Mauler, 0 Mauler at all, okay? But you will have Thoran, right? You need a tank. So we put Thoran in front because I want Thoran to take the damage for Corin, and then I want Merrily to get the buff from Reiner so that Reiner can provide the heal, while if let's say your Reiner is at a higher EX weapon, you got damage reduction as well, which could protect your carry. And then the last one, right, if you take a look at this, you have a shielder, you have a healer, you're still lacking a little bit in terms of sustain. Obviously you can put in our dear Lucius, which I mentioned just now, right? If you don't have Lucius, then it's fine, you can use the likes of Healwin, which I mentioned earlier, right? If you don't if you don't have all these units, I don't know what to say, because like these are basically all the different alternatives that you probably should have if you're not running the Mauler package. So here I'm going to just rescale the levels to show you guys the difference in damage. So I'm going to give my Thoran to the highest level. I'm going to give the level 81 to Healwin because her heal is going to be really important, and I'm going to give Corin level 71. Okay, so this will be my build. For this one, I kind of want to use the latest seasonal artifact Light Heal spell, because Light Heal spell provides quite a bit of defensive stats, could be helpful in surviving. So without further ado, we're going to start this run. Okay, so for this team, I think my damage output might not be as strong because I don't have the offensive buffs that Mauler can offer while surviving at the same time. But I think anywhere between 90 million to 100 million should be okay for this kind of setup, because honestly speaking, this is rather suboptimal already. But this is a very free-to-play friendly guide who covers all the possible team comp that you guys might have question for if you don't have my best team comp from my other videos. So this is it. Okay, as you guys can see, we're not surviving as well because number one, my unit stats are not as high. Maybe what I could have done is I could have put Healwin right in the middle so that Healwin can proc the ultimate faster. Okay, or maybe I can use Starshot spell so that my units can use their ultimate faster, and then we are able to do more damage from there. So as you guys can see, overall we are doing only about 78-80 million, right? I think, yeah, we're doing 78-80 million. So you can definitely try and error yourself, switch out the artifacts to see whether or not your best team can perform up to standard. So this is the damage distribution. A lot of damage came from Thoran because my Merrily didn't survive for very long. So if let's say like you're playing with this suboptimal team, you kind of want to fine-tune how you are like what are the shortcomings, right? So from just now I mentioned that, hey, my Merrily is my main carry, but she died early. So what can you do? Link Thoran to Merrily, protect your Merrily, and then you put Healwin in front so Healwin can draw the attention. And for Corin's case, do you really need Corin? Corin didn't do a lot of damage, so is it better if you use that slot to provide more heals for your team? Then if that's the case, maybe you might want Damien, right? Damien also provides quite a bit of heal, and he has this damage, and if you have him at a higher tier, his EX weapon has a haste buff as well. So yeah, this is one way you can build your team. And because my Damien is at a higher tier, he might be better for this boss specifically. And just now I realized that I was lacking a little bit of damage, so what I would do is maybe change out to Starshot spell and then reposition Reiner, so that my dear Damien will take the wolf's attack, as I noticed that the wolf is coming from the left side. Okay, so let's start the battle. Okay, so for those of you guys who are still around, right, this way is really very suboptimal. I don't recommend it. I usually recommend people to use the most optimal team comp, build up the most optimal units for dream round. But let's say if you do decide to play your game differently, if you're not going for the most optimal team comp, you have better unit qualities in other units such as this, right? You play more of Wilders, you play more of Light Bearer. This is probably one way you want to tackle the boss. So as you guys can see, my Merrily is surviving really well, and my units are keeping themselves healthy. Healwin's ultimate is going through, and Thoran is also doing damage with Merrily being protected. So this round, I think for this time around, I will be able to do more damage. Yeah, I definitely will be able to do more damage because we are currently at 77, so 78, 80. So this is where you fine-tune your team. play with what you best have and do the best damage even as a free-to-play player. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. If you guys saw this guy and you guys are still going like, your guy is not free-to-play friendly enough, I don't know how to help you guys, because yeah. Okay, that's it for this video. I'm just gonna showcase the final damage. Thank you very much for tuning in. Do remember to like and subscribe to see more of such the best free-to-play team recommendations for the Dream Realm bosses, or for whatever content that you guys might have questions for. I do read your comments, and see you guys again in my next video. Bye guys!